Can you see the slides?
Yes, sir.
So last class we discussed multi-phase weaving. Couple of slides left from multi-phase weaving, then we will start multi-axial weaving. So I have discussed up to this last class. So
Sir, can you please start recording?
Sorry?
Can you please start recording?
Started?
Recording.
Yeah, I have already started. It is recording is on.
Yeah, thank you.
So this technology is used to manufacture grid structures, tire cords, woven structure with pile loops, and some double fabric. You can see the diagram of a double fabric here. And why this technology is used to make grid structure or tire cord means in grid structure or tire cord, the thread spacing is very low. With multiphase weaving, the kind of bit off, if you recall, we discussed last class, cannot really make a fabric with high cover, means you cannot make a fabric with very heavy thread density. That's the reason why this technology is used mainly to make a grid structure, means where the thread spacing is very low. These are some of the informations relating to multiphase weaving. Although multiphase weaving can facilitate the weaving production more than 5,000 meters per minute weft insertion rate, it has several limitations. What are those limitations? Number one, the technology is limited to only simple plain weave or two up, one down tween. You cannot make any complex weave design in this machine or in this technology. Obviously, the question arises why. Look at this. If you recall how weaving takes place here. So at any point of time, 4 weft yarns are inserted. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you can see here, the weave design used in this particular case is plain woven. If you go for any other weave, let's say 4 up, 1 down, or 3 up, 1 down, then float length will increase. That means you cannot go beyond 4 weft insertion at a time, more than 4 weft insertion at a time. Complex weave means basically higher float length. And there is another point which will come because now I am showing you the diagram. I thought you might have forgotten because we discussed this particular subject before your minor. See, this technique, which is another limitation, which I will discuss subsequently. Remember, cannot be, it's very difficult to mend broken weft. Why it is so? For example, weaving is taking place. This is the direction of, look at, anti-clockwise is the direction of movement of yarn. So this is fell of the cloth. Now this is last 4 weft inserted. For example, if a weft breaks at this point, look at my cursor. If the weft breaks at this point and you are now here weaving, then at this point the weft insertion will take place in this shade. Look at, in this shade weft is already inserted. Next shade is this one. The weft will be inserted in this shade. And what I am saying, let weft breaks in this. Then what you have to do? How to go for repairing? You have to remove all these 1, 2, 3, 4 threads, and you have to go for mending of these threads. Then weaving will restart, and that means you have to go for reverse winding the rotor. Then only you can insert a broken pick to remove the defect in the fabric. This is another biggest drawback of this technology, which you will find in the limitations points. Fixed warp density per machine. I think if you recall from the second diagram, you can understand. Look at here. Each rotor plate carries only 2 warp, and in our loom, several rotor plates are placed together. Look at from here to here. In this rotor plate, you are looking at one plate here, another plate here. In between, there are so many plates. And as I said, each plate takes only 2 warp. That means if there are 1,000 plates here, you can accommodate only 2,000 warp ends, neither less nor more. So this is another limitations of this weaving technology. We can use only fixed number of thread density to weave a fabric in this machine. Whereas in our conventional system, we just change the reed, peak density, end density will change. On the same machine, I can use 30 reed, 40 reed, 50 reed, 60 reed, any reed I want, and accordingly my thread density will change, which cannot happen in this technology. So this is another limitations. Fixed warp density per machine. Low peak density due to low bit of force. This point I have already explained you. Requires different operating training compared to single phase weaving. The weaver who will run this machine needs expertise, needs a lot of training. It's not that easy to run this machine. Few machines were sold due to these serious limitations. In fact, very limited number of machines has come to the market. And just for your information, right now at this stage, this machine is not at all available in the market. the manufacturer had stopped producing this machine, they found a lot of difficulty in selling these machines. Although this technology gives very high or highest productivity. Look at the figure. It is in fact beyond this. Sometimes it is 6,000 meters per minute. But because of all these limitations, the technology is not being really used in industry, is not a popular machine in the weaving mill. So all these points I have discussed. Complex weave cannot be woven. Very high quality warp is required. Because why? Okay, this point I have not discussed. Very high quality warp is required. The reason being, look at, you can again see from the same machine, the yarn gets abraded every time over this. Look at the passage of warp yarn. In our conventional loom, the yarn is drawn through heel dies and reed ends. These are the only 2 points where the yarn gets abraded. Whereas in this, at every point here, here, the yarn gets abraded with these metallic pins and abrasion takes place. There is every possibility the yarn will break. So you have to prepare the yarn in such a manner the yarn must not break during weaving. That's the point which is mentioned here under limitations. Very high quality warp is required. Mending of weft, I have already told you. If the break takes place at the last set, then obviously you have to go back to the first. That means remove all subsequent threads and restart the machine. There are also thread density limitations. This point I have already told you. That's why this technology used for grid structure. Initial investment is also very high. This is also another limitation because in Indian currency, this machine nowadays, each loom cost about 2 crores rupees. It's a very expensive machine, although the productivity is very, very high. But because of all these limitations, it is difficult to run this machine as a potential weaving technology in any loom set. Because as I said, there is a probability that yarn breaks in this technology. So it is always advisable to use good quality warp yarn, means the yarn with low friction coefficient, low hairiness, more suppleness, high abrasion resistance, and high strength. That means you need this quality, minimum quality requirement of the warp yarn will be used in this machine. Otherwise, it is difficult to weave fabric if you use ordinary warp yarn in this machine. Also, you need stringent yarn preparation because, as I said, the abrasion resistance requirement is very, very high. So you have to go for special sizing of this yarn so that the abrasion resistance must be improved. Then only you can run this machine, with a desired loom shed efficiency. So desired loom shed efficiency means the low warp breakage rate. Okay. Sometimes to reduce the abrasion resistance, people use wax, after wax application. You apply the wax during sizing on the surface of the yarn, so abrasion resistance can reduce. That one can do to run this warp yarn effectively on this weaving machine. Or conditioning the yarn means, conditioning, you understand, keeping the yarn in appropriate ambient conditions, or even you can go for steaming the yarn in autoclave so that the breakage probability or the snarl formation or the twisting of the yarn, uh, probability of formation of snap on the yarn during weaving can be minimized. So if you summarize, what is the advantage? Definitely, the first advantage is high rate of weft insertion. Okay, this is the main advantage. All other points consequent to that only, but main advantage is high weft insertion. Whereas there are several disadvantages. All the limitations I have discussed, they are all disadvantages. There is one more disadvantage which is not discussed, written in this slide. Look at what the point is written. With weft phase looms, the warp tension may not be uniform in all places of the sets, and the weft tension may vary as the weft reserve in the weft carrier runs out. Means as weaving proceeds, the weft package gets, you know, volume of yarn gets reduced. That means the tension in the weft yarn varies with every pick, and as the tension in the yarn varies from every pick to subsequent pick, because of this variation in yarn tension, this causes the local density variation in the fabric, which we normally see in the fabric as called Moir effect. If the warp yarn and weft yarn, all these yarns are under equal tension every time, the texture of the fabric is uniform. But if the tension in the warp and weft varies as the weaving proceeds, you will find the tension in the yarn varies. That's why the texture is different at the different places, and you find the fabric defect as called Moir effect. All other points I have discussed: wave breakage stop problem, peak density problem, warp density problem, uh, high peak density cannot be attained. You have to always produce grid fabric on this. So all these are disadvantage of this technology. This is last slide of this subject, means multi-axial, multi-phase weaving. So in this you have to remember only weft insertion rate about 6,000 meters per minute. All these other figures you need not remember. You can weave the fabric only plain or 3-up 1-down twill. No other complex weave is possible. I already explained you why it is so. Warp density and weft density is very low. That's why we produce a grid structure. High cover factor fabric cannot be produced on this machine. Also, I have already told you the reasoning. In this, one can go for lino selvage because it is open selvage. So it's okay because all our airjet weaving normally we use lino selvage. Even rapier also we use lino selvage. So that's not a problem. And yarn count range from 15 to 60 tex yarn can be used on this. You cannot go for very coarse yarn weaving on this machine. It's a very delicate machine. The hooks and the comb, bit up comb is so delicate. You cannot go for a very coarse yarn weaving on this machine. So this is how the summary of this multi-phase weaving technology. Now we will switch over to next topic. It's called multi-axial weaving. So why multi-axial weaving? The first question is, what was wrong with our conventional biaxial weaving? This fabric is a biaxial fabric. We have warp yarn and weft yarn. They are orthogonally placed, means right angle to 90 degree to each other, warp and weft, which we call biaxial fabric. So all our conventional fabric is a biaxial fabric. Then question arises, why we are interested to produce multi-axial weaving or multi-axial fabric. The important limitation of biaxial fabric is the fabric is anisotropic. As you can see here, all the properties of this fabric you can get either in warp direction or in wave direction. Any property, if you want to measure in bias direction, look at my cursor. Bias direction means angle other than warp and weft will be poor, which we call fabric is anisotropic. It's not isotropic. Okay. So if you produce multi-axial fabric, this technology offers a remedial measure to produce isotropic structure. Also, this technology gives you stable structure. So what is the meaning of stable and why stable? It will come in subsequently. Remember, this technology helps us not only isotropic but stable structure. Warp yarns, okay, I can explain some points here also in stable. In a normal fabric, what happens at interlacement points? Warp is just sitting over the weft. So if you are applying a shear force, a tangential load at the edge of the fabric, the yarn gets sliding because crossover points are not welded points. At the point of intersection, the warp is just sitting over the weft and vice versa. So if there is a tangential load, the yarn slips. So structure is unstable. That's the point what is written here. Then third point, warp yarns can be positioned in the direction other than principal direction in case of multi-axial weave. And how this can happen, that we will discuss in this technology. How we can have more than two yarns in a weaving, which can be positioned in the direction or angle other than orthogonal, means 90 degree, apart from warp and weft. Okay, that we will discuss in this chapter. So if you recall, I discussed this slide to you when we are discussing 3D weaving. Monoaxial, biaxial, triaxial, multi-axial. Now we are discussing the last one, multi-axial. Before we discuss multi-axial technology, we must convince ourselves first what is the motivation to produce multi-axial fabric. We need some fabric, particularly for making composite materials. The fabric that needs dimensional stability, conformability, and moldability. I also discussed all these points during 3D fabric. Any preform means the fabric which will be converted to composite material, must have these three basic characteristics: dimensional stability, conformability, and moldability. Then only the fabric can be converted to a composite material. Require interlaminar strength and damage tolerance. Any fabric which will be converted to composite material, let's say we are preparing a thick composite material, putting 4 layers of fabric one over the other, then obviously in that case interlaminar strength of the composite will be very poor, because all the 4 layers, they are just kept one over the other by lamination. by adhesive. There is no structural integrity between the layers. So those fabrics have very poor damage tolerance. Means if those composite material made from these multi-layer fabric in which all the layers are kept one over the other, subjected to flexural load or subjected to impact, then they will delaminate. They will get separated each other. That is another drawback. Also require to withstand multi-directional mechanical thermal stress. So what happens? These are some of the basic requirement of a fabric when the fabrics are used to make composite material, which we don't get in conventional two-dimensional fabric or biaxial fabric. That's the point written in the last. Because of these drawbacks, it restricts the use of simple woven fabric which are converted to composite material for the application of space engineering, automotive engineering, and sports, etc. That's why we go for developing multi-axial fabric. Multi-axial fabric can be divided into following groups. Remember, anything which is more than two are called multi. So we have uniaxial or biaxial. This is uniaxial, biaxial. Beyond this, tri or four or five and six, they are all called multi-axial. I'll show you some of the diagram of these triaxial, four axial, five axial, and six axial fabric, depending on how many threads are used in weaving. For example, we classify all these multi-axial 3, 4, 5, 6 into two categories. One is called homogeneous, another is called non-homogeneous. What is homogeneous? Homogeneous multi-axial means it is a net where each of the thread system has a constant spacing. Means in one direction, if you have 10 threads, means all the 10 threads, they are placed at equal distance. The spacing is equal, then we call it homogeneous. But if the spacing is not equal, then it is called non-homogeneous. And I will show you by the diagram what is homogeneous, non-homogeneous, and what is all these 3 axial, 4 axial, 5 axial, and 6 axial. Look at just pictures. So this is homogeneous triaxial. This is a 3-yarn weaving system, and also the thread spacings are equal. So we can call it triaxial homogeneous. Then others are 4 axial. In 4 axial, the weaving is carried out with 3 warp, 1 weft, or 2 warp, 2 weft. How it is? This is 4 axial homogeneous. Look at, all thread spacing are equal. That's why it is homogeneous. And you have 3 warp, 1 weft. The red is straight warp, this gray is bias warp, blue is bias warp, and green is 1 weft. So this is, remember, 3 warp, 1 weft, homogeneous multi-axial weaving. I repeat, 3 warp, 1 weft, multi-axial homogeneous weaving. This is also 3 warp, 1 weft, and this is also multi-axial, but non-homogeneous. The basic difference between this and this is only the thread spacing are not equal. That's why it is non-homogeneous. This is 3 warp, 1 weft, multi-axial, non-homogeneous fabric. Let us take an example of 5 axial. In this, weft thread is black, then 4 warp threads, red, blue, green and brown, and it is homogeneous. You just mark any one color, any one color. See, every color, if you mark them, they're placed at equal distance. So this is 4 warp, 1 weft, multi-axial, homogeneous. Similarly, you can have a look. This is a non-homogeneous, multi-axial. So what is the limit? Can you go for 6 yarn, 7 yarn, 8 yarn system also? It is not possible. We'll discuss only one, 3 warp, 1 weft, 4 multi-axial woven fabric, but we'll not discuss others. But we must understand what is the limitations of high number of threads. As the number of thread increases, the weaving machine becomes complex to accommodate and handle the warp, beam and krill. More number of warp means more number of beams. If instead of 3 beam, 3 warp, if I want 5 warp, I need 5 beam. So I must know how to accommodate 5 beams at the let up side, at the back side of the loom, from which all 5 threads are to be drawn, combined together and make shade to make the weaving process. Very, very difficult task to manage the thread drawn from 5 different weave, and they must all have identical let off mechanism, because weaving is taking place. Yarn consumption from each beam must be equal. That means the same take up, but 4 different or 5 different or 6 different let off. If you understand weaving, you must understand this terminology, otherwise it's difficult to understand. Let off, take off, you understand what is let off. Let off means the mechanism which releases warp from the back beam. Take off means it winds up the fabric. So we must have a synchronization between let up and take off, so that tension in the yarn is maintained and weaving facilitates smoothly. If we have 5 different warp yarn, means 5 different let off mechanism. All these 5 let off mechanism must maintain synchronization with take up mechanism, so that equal length of yarn must be drawn from all these 5 beams. Then only you can maintain equal tension in all the warps. So higher is the number of warp, more is the number of beams, and more difficult it is to maintain tension in all the warp yarns with identical let off mechanism on the machine. That's the basic limitations of not increasing number of beams, number of warp threads, means difficult to produce a multi-axial fabric with higher number of warp threads. So far, commercially, we have a 4-axial machine in which we can use 3 warp, 1 weft, which I will discuss with you. So a commercial model using 4 threads, that is 3 warp, 1 weft, is available in the market. Technology is established, and I will discuss with you this technology. So look at the system. This is a multi-axial fabric with 3 warp, 1 weft. So just for the sake of convenience, I have written in this direction. Otherwise, this horizontal is warp, vertical is weft. So as you can see here, there are 3 warp. This is 2 red are 2 different warp, and blue is another warp, third warp. The green is weft. The 2 red warp, they are called bias warp. They are 40° to each other, 45° to the central axis. The blue warp is straight warp. Green thread is weft yarn. Understand from this, remaining is very easy to understand. You have to first understand the structure, how this multi-axial fabric is formed. As I said, this is warp direction. Normally in our diagram, for the convenience, we use vertical direction is warp, but this diagram is made in such a manner, horizontal direction is warp, and 2 red warp, 1 blue warp, that is total 3 warp. Red warps at 45° to central axis, they call bias yarn or bias warp, and straight warp is the blue one, that is called straight warp, and green is weft yarn. And this is how weaving is taking place. We'll discuss how weaving is taking place, but this is how after weaving the structure is formed like this. Okay, now let us see how this weaving is taking place. Can you see 3 warp? Look at my cursor. This is 1 warp. Look at my cursor. This is 1 beam. This is second beam, second warp, and this is third warp coming from here, third warp. So this is 1 bias warp, that is 1 red color. This is second bias warp at bottom, second red color, and this is at the center called straight warp. 3 beams, bias 1, straight, bias 2, 3 warp, 3 beams. So bias 1 on top, bias 2 bottom, 45° to central axis, and at the center this is third beam. Is clear? This weaving machine has no hild or reed. There is a groove wheel in which the grooves are cut in such a manner these grooves or pitch of the groove cut on this cylindrical rotor has the same density as of our thread density, analogous to the reed dent in our conventional weaving. In our conventional weaving, we put a different reed count. If you want to produce 30 ends per centimeter fabric, we use a 30 dent. Means number of dents means, you understand what is dent? 30. So that in 1 inch you can draw 30 threads in the dent, conventional dent. But here in this case, there is no reed, there is no dent. The groove is cut. The yarn is drawn from the beam, and each thread is drawn through this each groove. So the pitch of the group will decide what will be your read count. Read count is nothing but your warp thread density. This is how these grouped cylindrical roller accommodates bias warp top and bottom. This is bottom bias warp, this is top bias warp, and this is center straight thread comes straight in between this, drawn straight to here, the final read through which all the threads are drawn. Let us proceed to understand further how this weaving is taking place. All the points written here I have already told you. Bias yarn feeding system, mechanism for the crisscross insertion of the bias yarn, crisscross in the sense the motion given to this cylinder is to and fro, this way, that way, this way, that way, so that this straight, the yarn which looks like straight now, when it will make a to and fro, means left, right, clockwise, anti-clockwise motion, when it will make anti-clockwise, these yarns will make 45-degree in this direction. When it will make clockwise, these yarn will make 45-degree to central axis. That's why the yarn goes from deviates from central axis to 45 plus, 45 minus. This happens only by simply rotating these grooved drum left, right, clockwise, anti-clockwise, 45-degree plus, 45-degree minus, which is written here, mechanism for the crisscross insertion of the bias yarns. And there is a working system. Shading system incorporates special heddle design. Heddle means heel. So this is a heel design basically, special heel design. Weft insertion system, there is one weft insertion system by a needle. You can see here, this is weft yarn. I will show you subsequently how it is. If you have seen in our lab, there is a needle loom. So here there is no shuttle. The weft yarn is carried by a needle. So the needle penetrates through this head, taking the weft yarn. Bit up mechanism, there is a special bit up mechanism, and fabric take-off system is there. So look at how weft is inserted in this machine. It is the same one. So you can see here there is a needle. It carries weft yarn from a creel kept in the left hand side, and it inserted through this thread. When this needle will arrive at this end, there is a stopper or catcher here which will catch the weft yarn. That means at every loom cycle, two weft yarns will be inserted, because this needle carries the weft yarn, comes to this point, and it will go back empty when this yarn will be held here by a hook. Means in every peak cycle, two weft yarns will be inserted. Look at how it is. Two weft yarn. Then bit up will take place, and then weaving will continue with the change of the set. Okay. And this is how this weaving continues to give a structure. And there is a bit of system given here. The heddle means heel. Raises the warp to form this head, and at the same time, the warp interlaced with the bias yarn, because interlacement takes place means it is making to and fro, that is clockwise, anti-clockwise yarn at the crossover points. Look at, you can see here, when it will go to this side, it will go to this that side. So there will be knotting, crisscross. The binding action will take place, and the yarn will be held tightly at the crossover points, which ultimately will give you a very stable structure, unlike our conventional weaving where warp is just sitting over the weft, and there is a probability that the yarn will slide with the slip, which does not happen here. And this machine has some automations and controls. There is a stop motion, there is a broken weft mending mechanism, and there is a bias yarn break. If the bias yarn will break, also there is a system to mend the thread, and even there is a, if weft yarn is strained under high tension, also there is a mechanism to stop the machine and reinsert the weft yarn. So all these control system like other weaving machines are here, both for warp and weft yarn. Okay, and what is written here? If you are interested, you can remember. It's called a second generation machine of multi-phase weaving. What is the fundamental difference between the first generation and second generation multi-phase weaving is, look at what is written here. In second generation machine, the pitch of the warp and bias yarns has load from 5 to 4. What does it mean? This is the second generation machine. Look at this pitch, very fine pitch. Means in previous machine, the pitch was high. It has decreased from 5 to 4. That means you can go for very fine thread weave. In previous one, the pitch is large, spacing is poor, so you cannot produce a fabric with high thread density. Pitch decides the thread spacing. That is the only fundamental difference. This cylindrical rotor which holds the warp yarn in this machine are placed very close to each other. Thread density increases. That is the basic difference between the first generation and second generation multi-phase weaving machine. So you can see here how the fabric is formed in second generation machine. You can see here the cover factor is more compared to the previous one where the cover factor looks net-like structure, but in this very compact structure is formed. Okay, so that is the basic difference between first generation and second generation machine. And properties of this fabric. This fabric has a dimension stable, I have already told this point, and isotropic. So these are the main two, and there are some other properties which we will discuss next class from here. So I close it here. Just see the properties of this particular fabric produced high dimensional stability and isotropic. Both the points I have explained you. Why high dimensional stability? Unlike conventional weaving where just warp is sitting over the other. In this case, warp and weft, they are entangled at the crossover points. So there is no question of slippage of the yarn at the crossover points. It gives a dimensionally stable structure, and isotropic obviously because you are distributing the yarn in this way, so that the properties of the fabric in all the directions are very similar. That's why it is isotropic. So we get these two main advantages in this: high dimensional stability and isotropic properties. Okay, so I stop it here. From this, in the next class we'll continue. You may log out.